Hello, I'm Dave Koji. Welcome to the Pickleball Lounge, episode 20. The Pickleball Lounge is where I speak to influential members of the pickleball community about their involvement and experience on and off the pickleball court. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Astria Pickleball for sponsoring this episode. Head over to astriapickleball.com for their innovative paddles and gear. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel to be notified of new pickleball interviews. Our very special guest today is CB Lee. CB is an Astria Pickleball sponsored senior pro player and recently just won gold in the senior pro mixed doubles at the PPA tournament in Seattle and took silver in the women's senior pro singles at this year's APP tournament in Mesa. CB, great to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Dave. It's great to be here.
You're so accomplished already. This is quite the treat to have you. So I see you were going from your bio. I see you were a tennis player and one of those people who didn't like pickleball. So why did you start playing the game?
Why did I start playing? Well, yeah, I was sort of that typical arrogant tennis player that just said, what's going on with that sport? They're not hitting it very hard. What's this thinking thing that looks so easy? And honestly, I think the name sort of swayed me away from it too. It is kind of a goofy name for a sport. But so my sister, she's older than I am. She's 5 years older than I am, and had been playing. She and her husband had been playing tournament pickleball for about 4 or 5 years, and she kept saying, you've got to play. You've got to play. You'll love this sport. And I said no. I played a couple of times rec with her, and then she lives in Indiana. She splits her time in Indiana and Colorado, and I'm actually out in Seattle. And so we don't see each other that often. And so just to go spend some time with her, she and her husband were playing Mesa last year, so 2022. And I said, well, I'm in Seattle. I need some sunshine. It was end of March. I was done with 2 months of 3 months, 4 months of gray. And so I went to Mesa just as a spectator to watch, and then saw like, wow, this sport's for real. And just, after that, so that was April or so, I came back to Seattle, tried to find some people to play with, just nobody, knew no one. And then she and I, we had a niece getting married in Cincinnati. So she and I played a tournament together in Cincinnati in July. And that was kind of the start of it. So July of last year. And then I've just been, bitten by the bug ever since, like everybody seems to when they start playing the sport.
So what advantage, excuse me, what advantage do you think you had coming from tennis? It's one thing from a player coming off the street and starting this, but you have that background with racket sport. How much of a advantage did you have right out of the gate?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously racket sport to racket sport, it's going to be an advantage just with those kind of the motor skills. And I also, I have 3 older brothers as well. So I grew up as a little kid playing ping pong in the basement, just trying to keep up with the brothers. So I think between, and so pickleball is the perfect sport in that regard, where it's kind of a combination of tennis, ping pong, badminton, on a badminton court. But I think in terms of the tennis skills, obviously just coming in with ground strokes and having confidence with strokes to begin with. But that being said, it's so playing the aggressive game, and it seems like, since I'm new to it, what I'm familiar with is more of an aggressive game, but it sounds like pickleball, this is an evolution of how the game's going, whereas it was a little bit more the soft game, historically. So I think obviously coming in with confidence of an aggressive game, and at Indiana, when I played college tennis, I was predominantly a doubles specialist too. So, the fact that pickleball is a double sport. But what I started to say is there are some detriments, I think, with a tennis stroke that I'm learning now. Like when I first started, I was super resistant to changing my strokes because I felt like, well, I know how to hit a ball. But hitting a wiffle ball with a plastic paddle is super different from a tennis ball with strings. Yeah. And so changing pedal head position and things like that has been an evolution. So I think, certainly ground strokes, but once you get to the kitchen, the aggressiveness, obviously, if you're dinking, just sets you up for trouble. So
what when you played tennis, was it a Western grip or an Eastern continental? What did
I
you
use the
do?
continental grip mostly. I kind of
Oh,
was
okay.
free the era that really went the far Western grip. A coach at one time was trying to ship me that and get the more wristy play.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't make that transition. So it's interesting now. I'm actually playing with that grip change now a little bit just to see now that I've sort of
Yeah.
experimented with changing paddle face. But yeah, I was more continental grip.
No, that makes a lot of sense. When you so when did you start playing pickleball? If I sorry if I missed that.
Yeah, okay. So really starting taking it seriously July, August of last year. So it's just been a
Oh,
year.
that so pretty recent, very
Yeah,
recent.
yeah.
Yeah. So when you first started, as far as the ratings, like usually when someone starts at a 2.0, 2.5, they get what do you think your starting rating was when you picked it up?
In fairness, my starting rating was probably 4.0,
Okay.
just not understanding that I can't drive every ball. I played so my first competitive tournament, I played the Diamond Regional. I think I played 50 plus 4.0. Maybe even played 3.5
Yeah.
mixed last year. And once you get 4.0 and above, you can't just drive the ball through everybody.
No.
And so,
Nope.
so that was, yeah. So I think in fairness, probably 4.0 ish.
Okay.
The first tournament, just not knowing any better of how to do anything in the kitchen other than hit it hard.
So how did you're playing in PPA and APP tour events, professional, I mean the top of the top. Um how did you go from a 4.0 player to PPA tour or PPA pro event in that short of a time? What did you have to change? What came together when you said to
Yeah.
yourself, I'm ready to play a pro tournament right now and I can
Yeah.
win gold doing it.
I think giving up the stubbornness of, of not, being willing to change my approach, my even how I hit a ground stroke, and just playing a ton. I mean, I think
Right.
I watched a ton of video. I just, I really when I got bitten, it was pretty addicted, like most
Oh
of us
yeah.
do. So, I'd be up late watching videos, just looking at what other people were doing, and then finally starting to listening to a lot of advice, like Andrea Olson, who's another Astria sponsored player here,
Yeah.
similarly is coming to this from tennis, and she just has been super helpful of how to kind of make that transition, because I went a little bit too far too. Like we played rec one day, and I'd been working on only the soft game, and I was clearly getting frustrated, and I was tentative because I just hadn't really mastered the strokes yet, and she was really good about just saying, still play your instinctive game. And so I think it was really listening to a lot of advice, watching a ton of video. Um, I have a couple friends here who are just, really have studied the game for a long, long time, and so I've taken some instruction as well. And that's been, formal instruction, and that's been hugely helpful. Like people who are true pickleball players, like show me how to play that, not just be a tennis player on a pickleball court. So that's that's helped with the transition, and then just playing,
Yeah.
hours and hours, 4 or 5 days a week. So
So when you say watching it, are you watching like PPA tour events, streaming events, APP tour events? Is that what you mean by
yeah,
watching it? Yeah.
yeah. And before some of the tournaments, especially as I went into the senior pro level, just kind of watching some of those players to see what to expect. Because, obviously I'm not seeing Ben John's equivalent in a senior pro women's singles match, but
Right.
or hopefully, I don't know. But so just watching a wide variety, I think. But yeah, definitely what's streaming with APP and PPA. So,
Yeah.
and also a lot of instructional video, like John Cincola videos are great.
Oh, yeah.
Simone, of course. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
No, and it's really good to just watch because you start to imitate and emulate I mean, there's a reason why these people are pros, the best players in the world. There's a reason. And
Absolutely.
and you see obviously tons of similarity, and it's just a little bit extra skill or extra patience that separates Ben Johns from everyone else. And he loses, everyone loses, but not,
Sure.
but generally speaking, if he's on, then he's going to win. Just like Anna Lee Waters, if she's on, she will win.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the best things, I'll give him a shout out. So Mike Enright is the person locally that I've worked with in terms of instruction, and to, he did the same. He said he just watched a ton of video, and specifically Anna Lee. And what he said is, her footwork is impeccable. That she gets herself in position. So technique wise, she's only hitting a few shots. Like she can get herself there. She's never reaching. And his point that I think has really stuck with me is when you miss a shot, for most people, regardless of having a racket sport background or not, like you can hit a wiffle ball over a net, in a perfect scenario. And he said it's footwork, really when you miss, it's because you didn't get yourself where you needed to be to skill wise do something that you can already do. So that's been great because now, if I'm lagging, I just really that's more my focus is like get my feet there.
Yeah, and it's good to have a checklist too. I mean, your whole body movement in all sports is important. Golf, swinging a baseball bat, whatever it might be, you have to
Absolutely.
everything has to be working in unison. And so you
Yep.
can be thinking about, okay, what's off here? And it's good to have it sounds like you're open, and I am as well. And I think a lot of people who are learning and growing within the game are open to other people giving perspective and feedback, and even take a video of yourself. I'm sure even helps you a lot.
Yeah.
So you are a practicing orthopedic surgeon until last year, which is unbelievable. Very demanding job, I would have to imagine. So you transitioned recently to case review work where you spend just a couple of days a week on that. Has that given you more freedom to play pickleball now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. To go from, well, I mean, first of all, I work from home now, which is crazy because for 30 plus years, my job was going to an office or, going to the hospital. And so, yeah, just it's opened up my schedule, but it's opened up just the stress level too. I mean, I think patient care, I give credit to all the people who are just, continuing to do it, continuing to go into it. It's demanding. There are lots of professions that are, but it's tough. So it's been just a huge, relief in terms of stress level that has helped me play pickleball. But I think pickleball would have offset that as well had I played more before. But it's having the time now is just such a luxury.
Well, it seems like your heart's still in clinical patient care because you're still doing it at a less degree now, but you're still involved with it. So do you feel like
Sure.
your heart's still with it? You don't want to give it up just yet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a skill set and knowledge base that I don't want to let squander or
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. So you are a senior player playing at the highest level. What is your advice for older folks to reduce injury? We see this is the fastest growing sport, but we also see a fastest growing injuries at the same time.
it
And
is.
I
Yeah.
do want to plug your video about the fitness and healthy as
Oh,
well, but wanted to tie that into. But would love to hear your advice for people that are not as athletic as you are, and want to start it, and just their hearts or their minds are bigger than their bodies as far as healthiness. What
yeah.
advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think it's a dilemma, right? Because we want people to be active, but you get out on a court like that and it's competitive and you forget what your limits are. So I think it's really be honest about your limits, what you can and can't do. And the first sign of something tweaked, back down or, don't keep playing. I think injuries a lot are sort of prevention. If you feel something niggling, to pay attention to that. Not to a degree that you perseverate on it, but just,
Yeah.
really taking days off, um, and being careful. I mean, I think a lot of the injuries, well, first of all, I'll definitely plug eyewear, or no, eye protection rather. I know of a number of people, including my mixed senior pro partner, who he wore frames, thick frames without a lens because, just assuming the ball would ricochet off the edge of the frame. He didn't wear a lens because of fogging. And he got a deflection off a partner's paddle and it hit him squarely in the eye. So he had 30 minutes where he had no vision and kind of blood in the front of his eye. So, he's obviously just completely committed to wearing eye protection. So I think the eye injuries are preventable. So that's one thing I would say for sure. And then I think a lot of it is just safety. I think there are a lot of wrist fractures and things like that with people sort of running backwards instead of turning and running, and just but in the moment it's so hard to you know not
Yeah.
just go for the ball. But I think it's really being honest about your limits is the one thing I would say.
Yeah, I think if especially if you're if you see the sport, your friends are like, you got to get out there, but you haven't done anything for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know that, but you're a competitive person. I'm a competitive, you're obviously competitive. Just even if you're competitive, just hey, just take it easy out there. Just even I would even just probably recommend just drilling and just not getting into a
That's
game to start with,
yeah,
get your body warmed up to it.
yeah. The
Might be,
Yeah, absolutely, thanks for bringing that up. I mean, I think warming up, stretching, cooling down afterwards, which I don't walk that talk, I'm terrible about stretching, but yeah, because 'cause I'm thinking in the like, also get used to saying, "Nice shot." I think that's the other thing, is like, if the lob goes over your head and you're not in great fitness, just
yeah.
applaud the shot and let it go and don't run, try to run backwards and things like that, but yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it's so hard. It is really difficult
Yeah.
when you're in the moment. So
Adrenaline is powerful for a reason,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So you're starting a social media slash YouTube channel with short videos providing information about fitness and healthy aging. Let's talk about that for a minute. How people can
Yeah.
find you.
Yeah. So on YouTube, I'm CB Lee MD. On Facebook, it's CB Lee, and on Instagram, it's CB Lee MD as well. My full name is actually Cara Beth Lee, but everybody calls me CB, so that's easier. And basically, it started, especially as I had more time, but as I reached my 50s or was approaching my 50s, I asked a lot of people, physical therapy friends, athletic trainer friends, what should I be doing for healthy aging, for somebody at this age, perimenopausal, that type of thing. And there's just not consensus information. And so I just started looking up articles myself, and little by little just thought, well, why don't I just put some of these out there? I don't go into great depth of the science, but I think I just try to give, nuggets of information that are, bite-sized pieces with reels and 1-minute videos. But I don't know if you're familiar with Peter Attia and the Drive podcast, or Huberman.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard of them. Yeah,
yeah. So Peter Attia, in particular, one of his focuses, although I'm reading his book right now called Outlive, it just came out a couple months ago. Um, People say that he's sort of a physician focused on longevity. He said he doesn't love the term longevity so much. He's focused on health span, like how
yeah,
can we increase our lifespan, but not just live longer? Like the years that we do live, how can we make sure that we're
effective. Yeah,
healthy and active and able to do things we want to do? And so he had an idea called the octogenarian Olympics, or I think he calls it now um, it's something with the hundreds. I'm blanking on it,
yeah,
but he talks about, because at the time he's, I think, early 50s now, or he was 40s, and he just said, okay, when I'm in my 80s or 90s, what do I want to be able to do? And he said, like, lift a bag into an overhead bin if he's traveling, lift a grandchild that's like 25 pounds. And he said, so if I'm 45 now, what do I need to be able to lift? What do I need to really functionally be able to do knowing the rate of decline, we lose about 10% muscle mass per decade, or 1% per year theoretically if you do nothing, just the muscle loss. So it's kind of thinking about it that way that's been super exciting. So I listened to a ton of podcasts and thought, well, I can just start, putting out shorter information of the stuff as I read it. So that's what it's been so far. I started it in May, I think. We're trying to
Oh,
get some traction. Yeah.
yeah, no, I definitely encourage everyone to start following CB Lee, and I think it's so important. I also think it's important that you're embracing the short nuggets because the attention spans and with social media and
Yeah, for sure.
engaging people for a long period of time is not very good. So I think that's fantastic, and it's a
Thanks.
really great. I think that as you can also really start to resonate with other pickleball players that I play the game. This is what I'm doing for my life and how I'm becoming healthier, and you can kind of track people that way too. And so I think you can get a decent following. But no, thanks for sharing that.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
um so do you plan on playing on more PPA and APP events in the future, especially with your lighter workload now?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to already looking at 2024,
Nice.
ready for the tournament schedules to be posted and things like that. So since we won mixed in the Seattle PPA, that was a golden ticket event. So my
Oh,
partner and I will be playing nationals, mixed senior pro, and then I plan to play singles for that. We'll see if I'm not sure if I'll be playing women's doubles for that. I hope to as well, but yeah.
oh,
So yeah, definitely big plans to keep playing lots of tournaments as much as possible.
that's great to hear. So you are an Astria sponsored player. Why did you decide to join the Astria family?
Well, it was easy because I love their paddle.
That helps.
Yeah, I played so my very first paddle was, I got in sort of a drawing when I was at Mesa last year watching my sister. If you registered for USA Pickleball, they were giving away a paddle that day, right? So
Oh,
I
nice.
got the Electrum Pro, kind of the
Yeah.
square one, and so I played with that for a couple months, and then is it okay to mention other
Oh, yeah,
paddle
yeah,
brand
yeah,
names? Okay,
yeah. Oh, please, yeah.
I don't want to diss any other paddle brands, but so I played with that for a little bit. Wanted something. I didn't love it. I'll just say that. So I got I had the Yola Hyperion, the Ben Johns, and I like that paddle, but got terrible elbow pain.
Uh,
And so I just figured since I got that as I started playing, I just thought, well, that's going to be part of my
yeah.
life playing pickleball. But I tried a couple others. I liked the 6-0. Um, and that delaminated on me pretty quickly. So I didn't want to keep dealing with that, and tried a couple of the groove-ins. So I had tried a number of paddles and just didn't find what felt right in my hand. And Andrea Olson, whom I mentioned earlier, kept saying, you should try my Astrid. You should try my Astrid. And they're coming out with some new ones. And she just happened, we were playing, just some rec one day, and she said, here, she just kind of put it in my hand. She's like, play with this. And I use the SS Max. She uses the Arrow.
Yeah.
And it felt great. Like I played with it that day, and she said, hang on to it. And I haven't looked back, and my elbow pain is like 95% gone. It's been so, I don't think they can necessarily market it that way, but that was a happy side effect of finding a paddle that I really like. So it just has a great balance for me of control and a little bit of power too. So
Yeah. Yeah, I had Yola before as well. Then I switched over to the Astria Pro first. That's one of the
okay,
pro paddle, shorter handle, wider face.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, well, I kind of wanted more power. And then I'll try the Max. And yeah, it's like, this is mine. I've been missing this. This is it. I always tell people what it is. What does it feel like? It's like a little comfortable springboard in the middle that's really soft. It is
yeah.
soft. That's what I describe it as. And so I've gotten other people here in my town to actually purchase them, and they love them. Actually, it's so
Yeah.
funny because I yesterday was my last league play. I started the pickleball league in my town,
Oh,
and
great.
there were four players that were at the court before our league play. All of them I knew. All of them had Astria paddles. All four of them. I was like, this is a picture perfect moment right now.
That's great.
um, so obviously we just talked about. My next question is, why do you love the paddle so much? You kind of dove into that already. I mean, just reducing your pain, and I'm sure other people are going to have that particular, even that same ailment. And the Max is a great option, but for those that want a bit of lighter paddle, the Arrow is actually the lightest paddle Astria has. And so even if you wanted something a little bit more lighter, that's always an option as well. And you can always go to the Astria website, astriapickleball.com, and you can try them out. They're only $20 to try them out, a little demo program they have, and just kind of see which one you like.
Yeah, and the Arrow also has great control as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's a great paddle.
right. So as far as the actual, let's dive in a little bit more for the performance. You, how do you feel the performance has been in your high level play?
Of the Astro paddle?
The Astria paddle.
Um, it's been great. I mean, I just feel it's reliable and it's so well weighted. I don't think about it. So I guess,
Right, right, right.
not being concerned about it. I feel it's just trustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like asking you, how your legs work when you walk. You kind of just don't think about it. You just walk.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I totally understand you
Yeah.
there. Now, if someone comes to you and says, "CB, love your game, love your paddle," what would you recommend Astria to them if they're looking for?
No question. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I tried a number of different ones, and then the first 15 minutes of playing with the Max, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I've been looking for.
Awesome. Now, this is my last question. I always like to ask it. So, what advice would you give new players that are looking to start playing, but they're kind of unsure about it?
Oh, they're unsure about whether they want to play
Well,
or
no, they're a little
what to
apprehensive
do.
to start playing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm still new, so I'm still the one asking those questions. But I think what I would tell, especially tennis players or
Yeah.
other racket sport players coming to it, is have the humility to be willing to change and not have have
Yeah.
the arrogance I had coming into it of like my ground strokes are cannot be tinkered with. So that would be the main thing, is just really, even if people have unorthodox strokes, that's what's great about pickleball is people come at it from all sorts of different sports and have all different techniques, but it gets the job done. So openness to everyone's input, and pick and choose what suits you, but also just being open to it. So yeah.
So one thing that I will say to piggyback on what CB was saying is that if the name is throwing you off, if you're like, one of the reasons I'm not playing it because of the name, just remember that pickleball was named after a cute little dog named Pickles, and it's called pickleball. So that's
Well,
why they came up with the name.
actually, so that's one theory, but the other, have you heard the other
Oh, I
theory behind?
haven't heard the other theory. I know, I thought
So,
that was it.
so apparently, because I'm in the home of pickleball, right? It's
Yeah,
Bainbridge Island, off of one of the islands in the
yeah,
Puget Sound. So supposedly it originates from, and I'm not a rower or a a boating person, but supposedly in rowing, the pickle boat is, it sounds like people that didn't get picked for the other boats, so it's sort of a mishmash of rowers are in the
Oh,
pickle boat. And so because it's a badminton court with kind of a ping pong-ish paddle,
yeah.
but so it's like tennis, ping pong, and badminton, like we talked about before. They called it pickleball because it's the mishmash. So I sort of,
Hey.
once I heard that, I liked it. But then I think there was a dog named Pickles, but supposedly that followed the sport. I don't know for sure which
That's
true.
the folklore. That's the legend. But
Yeah, yeah.
there's the legend and then the truth. And you may have all
I can't
Nothing
claim
the
that
truth.
that's the truth, but I did hear that, and I like the mishmash story,
Yeah,
but
that is
I just
actually that's probably
love it.
a better story, I would say, for people.
For sure, for sure.
So CB, that was my last question. Anything else you want to add or say to the audience here watching today?
No, I'm glad to hear that your community is using the Astria paddle because, here in the Northwest, since it originated here, I see it a lot, but I think once this paddle gets traction nationwide, it's going to be, it should be a super popular paddle because of or paddle company. I'm so partial to the Max, but they're great quality, great balanced, you know, great equipment. So
Yeah, it is definitely awesome. And I always say the people make the company, and the people at Astria are fantastically wonderful people.
phenomenal, phenomenal. That
That
was a
was
big part.
one thing for me that was important, joining the family. So, CB, it is such a pleasure to have met you and have the interview. And I hope I can have you on again to further track the progress of your senior pro future.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. It's been great talking with you.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Alrighty,
Thank you.
thanks.
Bye.